Yeah, let's get started by just sharing a little bit about what exactly is happening tomorrow and how did it all come to be, Garrett. If you could share everything, that just briefly with everybody.
Okay, sure. Well, Sanjay, I just want to start by acknowledging that I'm the least interesting person here today, so I hope to talk the least as well. But from the U.S. Embassy's side, we're just super happy to, for a long time we've had a good relationship with the Nepal Hip-Hop Foundation and have been really supportive of the amazing work that they do with the hip-hop community in Nepal. And so really excited to work with them and also Words Beats Life to pull this program together. Last year, just to kind of back up, we did have a public arts program that brought together street artists from all over the country. Yeah. They were down in Janakpur, where they did a public program and did some public art with the city there. Came back to Kathmandu, did this really big, long, collaborative piece there next to the parliament, talking about unity, talking about inter-community collaboration, and last year, as you know, 50th anniversary of hip-hop. And so also in September, we partnered, just in early September, with Rabars for their, commemoration program. And that was, really exciting and really inspiring. And so as we thought to, how to keep the momentum going, how to continue to talk about these issues that we're really interested in, we, again, worked with Nepal Hip-Hop Foundation, came up with the whole concept for this program, the Kula Bulao program for people, talking about the importance of freedom of speech, the ability to freedom of expression, and just the empowering force that hip-hop represents for different communities and allowing them to advocate for their community to represent themselves. It's just super important in the United States, and we know that resonates in other parts of the world as well. And certainly here in Nepal, we've had a fantastic program, I think, to date. Yeah. Really exciting by all of the hard work that's gone into this, the workshops that have engaged young people. We had a big public performance yesterday in Viratnagar on Wednesday. And tomorrow, we've got another big program here in Kathmandu, a big concert down on Durbar Marg at the Annapurna Hotel. And so we're just really excited to see this program reach this point. It's been a lot of work has gone into this, certainly by Nepal Hip-Hop Foundation, certainly by Words Beats Life, and all of the artists who've joined us here in Nepal. This is a treat. It's not every day that we are able to attract so much American talent and bring them to Nepal, not only to share their expertise, but also to learn from Nepal, to learn from Nepali artists. That exchange is super important and something we're really proud and really excited to support.
No, that's fantastic, and thank you very much for being here as well and making this possible too.
Of course.
Mazi, let's get started. I just want to get started by sharing with everybody a little bit about World Beats and Life. If you could just tell everybody, all the audience.
Sure. So Words Beats and Life is a 22-year-old hip-hop nonprofit that got started in Washington, D.C. when I graduated from the University of Maryland. Really to do something very simple, which was to create a space for young people who were interested in the arts, but maybe attended schools that didn't have the kinds of arts they were interested in. So we began there with what we called the Saturday Arts Academy. That eventually grew into other kinds of programming. Today, we talk about our work falling into 5 priorities: arts education, creative employment, cultural diplomacy, centering marginalized voices, and for the culture. And we got to do a little bit of each of those things while we've been here. Which is one of the things we love the most about cultural diplomacy, being able to, as you said, come to learn and to teach, to perform, but also to celebrate what's happening in each community that we visit.
That's fantastic. And how was Viratnagar? Like, I'll just come straight to yesterday. How was Viratnagar? How was the experience? Substantial, why don't you share with us?
Yeah, no, it was great. It was great. It was great to see the infrastructure that the hip-hop community there is already building, like the foundation that they've already set up, from the dance schools that we were in to the local hip-hop artists, how they support each other, both on stage and off the stage. Yeah. It was really inspiring. It reminded me of how it was starting in the beginning, early stages of being a hip-hop artist in a place like Maryland, where the scene in Maryland is definitely not the scene in New York or LA. So it was just super inspiring. It was a reminder of what that was for me and tried to keep a lot of that in mind when they had questions for me, like different ways to build on what the great work, the amazing work that they're already doing. You know.
No, that's beautiful. How is the dance scene there? And if I could ask you as well, what do you think of our scene when it comes to hip hop music, along with dance as well, along with the entire art as well? What do you think of Virat?
Oh man, I was so impressed. It was amazing. The thoroughness, interest, and the education, piggybacking on the groundedness that they already have within the hip hop interest, culture, and education within movement. Their West Coast, their East Coast. We're talking about West Coast, like they're popping and waving and all that, and the East Coast and the breaking and the hip hop. I mean, it was just it was wonderful. And so when I was able to do some choreography and then have them create, within themselves and put on this, production, it was much more than I expected, and it was a beautiful arrival, and just the spirit of everybody, the willingness, and I loved it. I love the students and the dancers there, yeah.
That's beautiful, and then tomorrow it's going to be in Kathmandu itself. How excited are you for that?
I'm ready to get it.
That's awesome. Anybody came in and wanted you to explain how it all works when it comes to DJing? Did they come in and ask you about...
I mean, they didn't ask, but I did it anyway. That's what I'm here to do. No, it was cool. Had a lot of people that were interested in the DJ classes that I did. And I have my certain equipment that I use, and I'm just also trying to make sure I'm, in the process of teaching those classes, teaching things that are just general concepts about DJing that apply to anything from you have the most expensive equipment in the world to you have a software program on your computer and you want to DJ with that. No matter what, you have the same concepts in DJing. So, track selection, matching beats, lots of things like that. What the crossfader does, what the upfaders do, things like that. So, yeah, no, it was great. I think a lot of people, I had some classes where just, they were there, and then the time was up, and they were still there, and I was still explaining. I was just like, all right, that's a good sign, because, I could go on for a long time teaching different things about DJing when it gets more complex, when you're getting into certain topics regarding it, but the fact that they stuck around showed that they had a real interest in it. So I was happy to add to their scene.
Yeah, no,
I love that part too.
Yeah.
Like that willingness to stick around in the end. I was just like, yes. It was just like you just kept going. That willingness to
learn.
Yeah.
You keep
and
on
come together and create.
Yeah.
They were like, yeah, okay, time class is over.
And they were like hanging out.
But not even just to learn, to show master teachers what they had, that they didn't come as empty vessels. They came as people who already had experience, who already had knowledge, and each of these instructors added to that and learned from what it is they witnessed.
Yeah. 100%.
That's beautiful. I just want everybody to just know to know a little bit about the Hip-Hop Foundation and how it got started.
Okay, so we started back in 2008. So that time we were known as Nepal Hip-Hop Foundation.
Yeah.
So the main motive of starting this was like back in 2007, 6, you could see a lot of youths like doing drugs and doing gang violence in the street. So we thought what would be a better way to engage them in something productive where, all the negative energies that these guys have could be turned into a positive energy doing something like really good. So we thought maybe introducing hip hop was already there here, but the old school rap where Nepsiders were already there. But dance wise and other elements of hip hop, it was not there.
Yeah.
So we bought in 10 b-boys from Thailand. So that time, I didn't start a Nepal Breakdance Foundation before. I think Mickey.
Yeah.
So Mickey had an idea of bringing in Thai b-boys here. So we bought in the Thai b-boys, and then we trained them for almost a month. And then the first batch of our products was the Everest crew, where Nishant and so after that so the trend started like in hip hop we term it as like each one teach one.
Yeah.
So the b-boys from the Thailand they taught the first generation, and then that's how the scene like expanded right now, and then you can see like what
Which year was this, Dipesh?
2008 I think, yeah.
2008. This is pre-Rob R's. This is
Yes,
pre a lot
yes,
of things.
Yes.
And in the beginning phases, who are the ones, if you had to take names?
As per the first crew?
Yeah, the first crew that we had.
So, Everest crew, I think
Of course, I went to school with Nishant.
Yeah, so Nishant was there. So yeah.
You for me too.
Nishant, Arvind, Sampurna, and then there were a couple of guys who were there. And then Nishant, Arvind are still continuing with the scene with like, they've got like Break Station where they're still empowering youths through like, Arvind is doing like podcasts right now. So that's how
No shadow of a doubt on that. Tomorrow, I don't know if you've met Nishant or not, but tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to be...
He's going to be there, right?
He's going to be there as well, right? He's one of the best beatboxers that I've ever heard in my life. So we're going to meet him tomorrow.
Yeah, and then Nishant is also the first beatboxer of Nepal that you can term as... Yeah.
Well, that was even... This was a first for me too.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we met too.
Yes. And then after that, the Cartoons crew were the second batch. Yeah.
Okay.
But like after that, they moved on with their own careers right now. But like that's how it started.
Substantial. Let me jump into this. How was the reaction of young friends in Biratnagar, and even when it comes to emceeing, and even when it comes to being on stage, right? Like, what kind of information did they soak in, and just give us a gist to all my viewers and my listeners.
Sure.
What goes into it?
Yeah. So. One of the first things I did in the workshop was, I did a quick performance so they could see what I do, but then I just took time to, allow as many of them as possible to perform so I could see what they already had.
Yeah.
And out the gate, like the skill level, it's even without understanding the language, like because I've traveled abroad for 20 plus years. I know what to look for even when I can't understand the words. I can look at the audience and see how they're reacting to the lyrics to know, like, get an idea or gist of what they're doing lyrically. And the crowd reaction every time certain artists got up there, I was like, okay, so people love the lyrics. A lot of them have, I think the thing that stood out the most is how even though they're a part of this community, everyone already has their own unique styles.
Yeah.
They weren't getting up there doing the exact same thing. And that's a huge part about being an artist, is finding your own voice. So a lot of these guys already had that solid foundation to work with. So all I did was, after that, I gave them an opportunity to give healthy feedback to each other. Like, what did you love about what you just saw? Okay, great.
Yeah.
And then after we talked about that and we lifted each other up, I was like, okay, let's talk about some of the things we can work on, right? And so, like some of the guys, we sometimes don't treat every performance like it's the biggest performance ever. And I've learned that, every stage is a stage, as simple as that. And we want to elevate from there, no matter if I'm performing here or if I'm performing in front of 2,000 to 3,000 people.
Yeah.
I'm going to give them, there's certain things to use. And, so we talked about that, the importance of not turning our back on the audience, the importance of, crowd participation, right? The importance of understanding that, we're all mirrors. That's what I love to say all the time. We're all mirrors.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at an audience and they seem dead and they don't seem excited to be there, you have to question, do you look excited to be there?
Yeah.
Does it look like you're having fun?
Yeah.
Because if you're overly serious and you're just rapping, looking down here. And so that was one of the, I think, major points that we made. And just seeing, as quick as I would make little suggestions, how quick these guys would pick it up, tweak, and then they go on the big stage and did it it looked like they've been doing that exact, they just picked it up so quick, you know what I mean? And I don't want to take too much credit. Those were quick observations that I made after one day, but it speaks to their skill level and how serious they take the craft already, that they could get a suggestion that quick and without a reminder before they go on stage 24 hours later, yeah, okay, cool. Let me do the thing. I saw it work when I did it yesterday.
Yeah.
So that's all I needed to know. And so that was extremely impressive. It was really inspiring. You know, I feel like I learned a lot from talking to them. I was on DM with one of the guys every night since I met this guy. We're on DM until like 11 o'clock at night, just talking about the craft. Yeah, man, it's beautiful. It's really inspiring. They were dope.
No, that's awesome, especially the young ones, especially the 18, 19-year-olds who are like super eager to go ahead and learn. Again, not trying to pinpoint on age, but obviously there's always 18, 19-year-olds whenever I go to college or school or anything along that line. They're always the first ones to ask question or very eager to go ahead and learn. So
sure. And these guys already have a ton of responsibility, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, one of the guys, he was studying, and I hope he did extremely well. Shout out to Raj. I hope he had his exam went really well. But he had to leave his studies, you know, the day before Big Test just to come and do that show. Yeah. So he got there maybe 20 minutes before it was time for him to get on stage. But he got there, and another guy took off work. He used his lunch break at his job at this restaurant just to come and support his friend on stage.
Awesome.
And then changed right back into his uniform and went right back to what he had to do. And that just, I mean, it speaks volumes about the type of community that exists here.
Yeah, you know? That's amazing. And thank you so much for being a part of it. And thank you so much for coming down.
Honor and a pleasure.
That's awesome. Could you, Shanna, could you go ahead and tell us a little bit about how the experience was in Biratnagar, and when it comes to visual arts as well, when it comes to performance as well, like how eager were the kids, and how is it in general whenever you travel around the world? Like, what's the feedback?
That's a bunch of questions in one. You're gonna have to remind me of the 2, 3, and 4.
I will.
The eagerness of the performance to perform it sat really well with me.
Yeah.
It felt good because when giving direction, sometimes you never know where it's going to sit, and you never know how it's going to thrive on stage once it comes to presenting time, or how things are going to fall together when you have almost like zero rehearsal.
Yeah.
And so the fact that we had like almost no rehearsal, there was a few that came after the class, the one class that we had. There was a few that came that same day in the evening to the mall to rehearse. And we weren't even able to go over that much.
Yeah.
And so then the next day in the morning, there wasn't many that were able to come. And so it was only the showtime. And like sporadically, we were like, okay, let's run over something here. Let's run over something here. And how it came about, it just fell into place. It was amazing. And the same thing with me. One of the girls had come from college just to come, and she was in her uniform and was, trying to go over things, and then she had to leave at a certain time. She didn't even make it into the group photo at the end. I don't know, what was your other question?
No, how is it around the world as well?
Around the world? I couldn't tell you about everywhere around the world, but the different places that I've been to, in comparison to maybe the U.S., in my community, I have to be careful of my word choice. Hip hop and street styles, coming from the streets, it has a depending on where I go, like the drive can be stronger, where the struggle is higher. So the drive and the intensity and the quality of interest and being present and just the aptitude of movement that comes out. And what we can create together, what I'm shown, and how I can, offer my humble information, it's just different levels, but globally, if we're talking about coming out of the U.S., globally, it's received much more with love and intensity. But it comes from the U.S. A lot of times, wherever something comes from, it's it's a bit more like, you know, just like I guess like at home, like I'm not gonna go to all the museums, but you come to visit. You're gonna come to the museums. I mean, yeah.
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 Could I add something real quick?
Yeah, of course you can.
Yeah, I think one thing that, just to piggyback on what she's saying, I feel like one thing that I see to be true, even in the U.S., is that the more people realize that this can potentially change my life, you know, in all the best ways possible, the buy-in feels a bit stronger. Like when I talk to the guys, there's this sense of, you know, some of the guys that I was talking to in the class, just they see the potential of how this could change things like in their day-to-day lives.
Yeah.
And there's an opportunity to build up the community in a way that maybe they felt didn't existed before. But I find that that's a common thread through a lot of places I visit. And I see that at home too with individual artists that I think we all know or come across who they see the power of it and they realize that this can not only change my life, but it can affect the lives of those I care about most in this community that I'm a part of. And then at some point you realize you're part of a global community.
Yeah.
And so I think that common thread exists in so many of these places we visit, but it's still at home too. It's just, it's so oversaturated at home. It's just the norm, right? Like this, like, you know, I can fall out my front door and bump into something hip hop related.
Yeah.
Whether the person calls themselves hip hop or not, they might just be living, right?
Yeah.
But I think, I think that's something I see, you know?
And I think it's also important to recognize the value of a partnership with an organization like the Nepal Hip-Hop Foundation, that we didn't just pop off a plane and then just start walking around and do pop-up classes on the street. We were introduced to communities that already existed to be able to enhance and learn from what they're already doing. And that's really important. It's important to recognize that and to acknowledge the value of collaboration. Even learning about the history of the founding of the foundation, that they sought expertise from abroad to be able to help to lay foundation so that they would not have to learn from the internet, but learn from other artists, to learn from people, that person-to-person diplomacy or that person-to-person education. And what a trip like this is doing is building on the momentum that they already established and a model for how to teach that they've been operating under since their founding. And so when Shay's talking about the level of skill, like, again, we're not showing up to blank canvases. We're showing up to people who the experience with each of these master teachers is adding to their own set of already existing experiences and the language that they have for their respective forms.
That's very, very beautifully put. Just one thing that I want to touch base, since we have Nepal Hip-Hop Foundation here as well. We got, I still remember in the early 2000, let's say 2012, 2013, give or take, on YouTube. This was one of the first moments when I got introduced to hip-hop, Nepali hip-hop, was when on YouTube, people started battling.
Yes.
There were rap battles happening. And then a lot of people in Kathmandu and across the country were introduced to hip-hop, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And that's when we really started getting a lot of artists coming out. Along with that, a lot of performers as well. So it kind of started with social media, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, when I think it first started with YouTube, I think. So Robas was there that time, so Yama Buddha, like, peace to him, like, you know. But, like, I think, when Yama was there, it just created a momentum, so to say, and then it grew to such a big platform, like right now, like you have like a platform, a good platform for the artists who want to continue with their career. So.
I just want to understand what your perspective is on rap battle, because that's how I got introduced to, give or take, Nep-hop in Nepal, right? So a couple of days back when I was traveling to the US, there was one movie that I, from time and again, I tend to go ahead and watch this movie. It's called 8 Mile by Eminem.
Right.
When either you're down or you just want some source of inspiration, it's a solid movie for me personally. And I was just watching it, and I just want to connect that right now because I got introduced to Nepali hip hop with rap battles back in the day. What's your take on it? Please feel free.
Yeah.
You might even so the idea that Stan began as a battle MC, that Fleg is the DJ from many b-boy battles all across the planet. So thinking about the value of competition in terms of building audience, but I would also say, and these are because we've been all on one accord for this whole interview. I'd also say that the battle might also be why so many of the scenes are so male dominated. The women aren't necessarily trying to compete against each other as much as lift each other up and support and celebrate. Not exclusively. I don't want to make it super gendered, but I wonder whether or not the battle nature that builds the scenes and gets people excited also discourages on some level more women from participating because they don't necessarily want to compete as much as showcase it. And of course, there's amazing women to compete in all of these elements. I just wonder, especially traveling abroad, when the scenes are so male dominated. But what do you guys think as people participating in battles?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great observation. Obviously, I'm not a woman, so I can't speak to that. But I believe there is possibly some truth in that. As someone who, I have 5 sisters, and I've leaned on a lot of the women in my life, and it's not that there isn't infighting or this competition amongst them. It's just it never feels as strong as what I see the guys do, and I'm not talking about battling. I'm just talking about this competitive nature in general.
In general, yeah.
And I'm sure it exists in some way, shape, or form. But again, as a man, I can only speak to that so much. But I think battling, the reason why it's been such a part of the culture, it's this way of, for me early on, it was just a way of enhancing my skills until I understood how songwriting could do that. And when we think about how I think hip hop in general started, right? In the very beginning, folks weren't so much focused on writing songs per se. Maybe it was one-off verses for different things that were happening live, and then they might be put on the spot by another artist who thought they were better than them, right? And then it turns into this competition, sometimes friendly, sometimes not so much. But this is an opportunity to shout out this one organization that took that idea and made it into a global phenomenon as well. Shout out to End of the Week. They do this thing called the MC Challenge, where I think they recognize the destructive nature of these competitions in that format, where so much of it was putting down the person across the table from you. And then they transformed it into a thing that totally celebrated just, okay, we're going to focus on this particular skill set in this round. Next round is this particular skill set. So it's not about tearing down the person across from you as much it is showing that you've developed these particular skills that make a well-rounded artist. And so in that sense, I think it's a very healthy thing for development because, for example, in martial arts, I've done a few different forms over the years. One of the things that what's that, a Bruce Lee quote where he said, knowing is not enough, we must apply, right? So, that's in a sense what a battle kind of is. You've tried these things on your own, but let me figure out how good I am, right? And even when we're just putting out a song that isn't a part of that competition, there's still competition, so to speak, because there's other people's ears you're competing for against other artists who are making songs. So it exists whether it's comfortable to, whether it's comfortable or not. I think it's important, an important part of this culture.
Yeah, definitely have a few things to add. I kind of am curious because we veered slightly. We're talking about battles, but it's good veering. It's solid, informative veering. But I'm wondering, because I think this is a really interesting thing to know that we always have to keep in mind is people really embedded deep into these cultural art forms. And I'm deep. I'm in DJing, but then I'm specifically in this arena with these dancers and things like that. is super normal for me, but completely out of the purview of the normal person. So I'm just curious for you, like, because you were kind of making a point there, or you were getting to something when you were saying like, okay, so I saw 8 Mile, and then you felt inspired, and I'm curious, what it was in there.
About never giving up or being consistent. Like you kind of want to be consistent about it. Consistent about, okay, I'm going to pursue it regardless of all the challenges in my life.
Yeah.
I'll just add on to this. The current mayor of Nepal, obviously, he is a hip hop artist. He still is a hip hop artist, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously, he was constantly consistent about all the challenges that we have in Kathmandu and across the nation. And he kept on advocating for it. And obviously, today he's the mayor. So again, two completely different things. But all I'm trying to say is it's that push and that drive that, for me personally, I like that movie, right? So that's what I was kind of getting into.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And I was just curious, without having any idea of what your answer was, I was just curious about what it was about what you saw in that, which is cool. And I think obviously that's what a lot of people see when they see when they're looking at some of those different types of hip hop forms with, what's going on and how they're pushing to do things. One thing so then back now to where we were at, which is that, when I see breakers battling, the dancers battling, something really cool, because I think Mazi is mentioning about, which is true. I think there is an element of it because of the sort of intense competition that could be something that, can divide on the lines of sex, possibly. Yeah. But at the same time, something really cool that I see is like, okay, so there's a battle that we have, an official battle. The battle's over. Before the battle is even over and it's announced who's won, the two guys or girls or whoever it is that are battling are already dapping each other up. Yeah. They're already slapping five. They're like, oh, good job. So, I think some of the idea of, I guess this is element specific too, because in rapping, a lot of times it's like, no, I legit don't like you, or or just like, I legit am in my camp, you're you, and like, all right, we just battled, you said some crazy things about me, so like, I don't think it's time to just be buddy just yet. But in the dance scene of things, it's slightly different. Yeah, you do have some static that could develop at points between people battling or over the course of being in a similar scene. But mostly, I dare say like 99% of the time, it's very friendly towards each other and really can be loving. And so you have that element of competition, but you also can see just by watching how the dancers themselves are acting after, beforehand, whatever, that's really just, a part of the game, but that's not indicative of their overall mentality, that this is like, I'm doing this because I'm doing it at this person. They are really enjoying it for their own sake, and then it just happens, they're put in the competition setting, they're testing their skills, but then after that, just really smaller part of the actual competition is done, everything else has, a different air about it.
Yeah, and the sense of freedom too, when it comes to b-boys and when it comes to girls performing on stage. Probably I've been hosting concerts for a long period of time, and in majority of times there's always b-boys and b-girls, and along the line of something related to hip-hop in majority of the events that I've for the past decade. So Hip-Hop Foundation, along with all the other friends, played a major role in this in Nepal. Would you want to go ahead and touch base on this?
We always focus on empowering girls. So one of our success stories that Nepal Hip-Hop Foundation has is Janisa, where and then she's been there from a long time. So she is the co-founder of NHF as well. And then looking at her journey, what she was before, and looking at her right now, she empowers a lot of girls, and I think, and looking at her, a lot of girls get motivated as well. And then working with the U.S. Embassy for a long time, the embassy always focuses on empowering girls, bringing them together and then bringing them forward. So Janisa also has been a part in a lot of programs abroad. She's been to US a couple of times. She's attended workshops, and So I think that is one of our success stories, so to say, till now,
yes.
as per woman and woman empowerment.
No shadow doubt on that. When it comes to on today's date, right here in Kathmandu and in Nepal, where do you? I'll start off with Dipesh from the foundation. Where do you see hip hop going in the next decade?
So I think it's gonna it's already doing well, and then in the next decade, I'm hoping there are more platforms that are open for artists, and then if you're talking about Fleg, if you can see what he's wearing, the cap, so Red Bull BC one, so that is one of the platforms that Nepal is looking for, but unfortunately there's no Red Bull franchise out here, so we can't approach that. So if we could somehow get Red Bull out here, and then because Red Bull has good camps and projects for b-boys and b-girls, so that would be an awesome thing. But looking at 10 years now, I think it's gonna grow. There are so many producers, music producers, rappers, there's dancers, but as per music producing, if you can see, there are a couple of Nepali music producers who are doing really good in the international market. Their the beats that they sell abroad, it's good. Yeah.
It's I know, Garrett, you have to leave, so I just want to touch base on this. It's a mode of expression right here in the past let's say a decade and a half, and on today's date we love hip hop. In general, we love hip hop, and whenever I have friends somehow related to music and dance, it's a big hit with my audience as well. So that's how we tend to go ahead and know that hip hop's a big mode of expression, and the amount of freedom that you get to express yourself is no other art form. Obviously, there are others, but it's right at the pinnacle of it.
Really important
And
one, yeah.
and thank you so much for making this possible. And just before we let you go, again, we touched base on two specific things. One was the freedom of expression, your ability to go ahead and express yourself in a democratic country like ours.
Yes.
Anything you want to go ahead and add towards this when it comes to this music and when it comes to our culture and obviously the diplomacy tour that we're working on?
Well, I think that between Nepal and the United States, our people-to-people connections are incredibly important. And I think, just as you said, we're both from democracies. And I think when you travel around Nepal, and I'm sure our friends and everybody experience this, Nepalis, take serious these hard-won rights to have that freedom of expression, right?
Yeah.
And the constant threat that we face in the United States, that we face in all different parts of the world, to try and limit speech, to try and prevent it, it's something that we have to be really conscious of. And so, I think that that universal, what we consider to be a universal value, and I think that many Nepalis agree. It's just so cool to see everybody coming together and using art to do that, to make that point. As we've said, working with young Nepalis with a tremendous amount of talent, really excited to see where they go from here, and we're just excited to see where we're at next year in the years to come, and continue to support this. As you know, hip hop in America, it's everything. It is the biggest part of our music industry. It dominates, and in terms of on the business side of things, on the culture side of things, it is. You just cannot underestimate or undersell just the incredible impact that it has on America, and we know that we see that
globally.
Yes, and exactly, and so and you see that here in Nepal too, right? Just a ton of excitement for the scene, and just so glad that we could come learn from the scene in Nepal. Bring over American artists to learn from that, take that back to America, share that with people, and with their communities back in the United States. That's of tremendous value to us, but also, and whatever we're able to, the team is able to impart while they're here. Really glad to support that.
No, that's fantastic. Guys, thank you so much. I know that you got to bounce.
Thanks for having me.
I'm going to hang with the team for just a little bit more, if that's cool with everybody. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I'll see you shortly then.
Okay, see you later.
Awesome. All right, I'll help Garrett out. I'll just take a little bit more of your time as well, if that's cool with everybody. Thanks, Garrett. I'll see you in a bit. Yeah, हुन्छ. Cool. हुन्छ. तल गर अनि पछि एड गरिदिउँला नि. हुन्छ. All right. Garrett, I'll see you soon. All right. Awesome. The thing that I was kind of getting into earlier was, I just want to touch base more on this, is the just a backstory of what really happened a year-ish ago. So our mayor, who is loved by the city and who is loved by the country itself as well, he's a hip-hop artist. He came in from
Battles, Robbers,
he came from battles, and then the amount of expressions that we started having, like, it's all about the freedom of expression that people got to know from his music and from the battle raps, and that's why I wanted to go ahead and touch base on that earlier. And now he's definitely making a lot of changes. And back in the day when he was a rapper, he used to talk about how you could make changes and how you could actually go ahead and support the system. And now he's actually in power and actually making a difference. So that's what people got to see as well, and that's one of the reasons I believe why hip-hop is loved so much in Nepal over the past decade. Just a backstory of what I think has happened, but obviously Dipesh, you'd be the right person to add to this.
So yeah, I mean, like you said, Balin, our mayor, you can see so many changes right now. There's so he's been working on the beautification of the city. The city looks much better, and then there are more infrastructures that has been implemented and changed. So I think so through hip hop, he's been like Sanjay said, what he rapped about before and what he was thinking of, how he could make changes in his community, in his in the country. So he's been implementing it right now. So and to add on top of that, he's still on the scene. But I think he's really busy these days. But if it's possible to have him tomorrow, would be even better to have him there. Yeah.
Mazi, I want to ask a specific question in terms of any misconceptions related to hip hop, if there are any that you'd want to go ahead and just share with the audience.
Well, I think before that, because I brought up women, and we have a woman at the table who's parts of multiple dance scenes, not just the hip hop scene. Just your own perspective, because part of what I was saying was that even in the thing that you see value in, I'm suggesting that it's not all valuable. So Fleg is 100% right, and Substantial is 100% right in terms of the love that artists have for each other. Yeah, it's just, this is my 18th country.
Yes, please.
And every single country I've been to, there's a lot of guys and a smattering of women. And it's organizations like the Nepal Hip-Hop Foundation or Words, Beats, and Life that are working to try to create spaces for those women to come in and feel supported and encouraged and have them build their skills. But it's also the responsibility of the scene to do that, not just organizations. And in other dance genres, that already happens. So that's why I wanted to bring it up. Because the scene is so young, the scene can do something about that. The scene, the men in the scene can work to make more room for more women.
Awesome.
But what is your thought, Shay, in your experience?
There are little areas, there's pockets, where there can be, battling has this tenacity of male testosterone. And there are elements in brackets where it can feel patriarchal. But that's not across the board. It's just it happens in little spaces here and where a voice, something may happen and someone will be silent. Where there is positive and negative, all right? So when you're speaking about battle mentality, that is the norm. That comes out of the hip hop genre, right? And then you have genre like house and other styles where it's about sharing. if the battle mentality takes over all the styles, and then everything becomes battle mentality, what sharing can be taken out of the picture. And in a lot of ways, it is taken out of the picture. Yes, some people can go in and it's like, and it is sharing, right? But it's not as not everybody feels comfortable in a battle setting as being as sharing.
Yeah.
Right? So there does need to be an option of like a dance community. And a lot of times there's a dance scene versus a community. Now, earlier when I was speaking of like pockets, there's a lot of women that come out and that are repping strong and high and mighty, like Janisha, like rah.
Yeah.
You know, there are some amazing, but sometimes it's harder. Sometimes it's harder for a woman to rise, or to feel like a male may have more of that, you know, battle mentality. Like it's more normal, right? For a female man, that battle mentality may not be as natural. So they just want to. I can't speak for all. I can only, you know, it may be more of like I just want to get out there and do it. I just want to do it.
To express them.
Yeah, I just want to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't want to battle, but maybe I do want to battle. But maybe I just want to do it. Maybe I want the option, you know, without feeling like I have to represent with a more stronger, adding the testosterone to my energy, you know, to be able to sit in the space. Sometimes the softer spirits are overlooked. And to just be. Just to be.
And Fleg, because I want to make room. Like we've been doing jams with Fleg and B-Boy Toys R Us and lots of other folks for 15 years. And the thing is, when we first started, I was like, okay, so we're gonna host a B-Boy battle, and he was like, no, we're not gonna host a battle. We're gonna host a jam.
A jam.
And the jam has a battle component, but it also has open ciphers, where that community piece, that sharing piece that Shay's talking about, happens. And so I wonder, like, do you want to talk about?
Could you elaborate the jam as well, so that we could incorporate that here itself?
Yeah, it's funny. That was actually something I'm glad you brought it up, Mazi, because that's something that I was going to comment on. Just because, you know, there's always a sort of pining for the things that you see happening globally, which are often the most funded, you know, the biggest things. So yes, I'm wearing the BC1 hat, and I've, you know, DJ'd their world finals, a lot of the USA finals, these different, you know, events that they do across the globe. But I find, and it's no, you know, criticism to them, but it's more that I find that there's this general, and this is across scenes, a general, you know, excitement to push towards that. And then, you know, my thing is, yes, of course, you know, I hope that, you know, something like that or something as big as that can happen for the sake of bringing in, you know, international artists, even more of them to do a big event. But, you know, the thing that I see, and this isn't really specific to just Nepal, this is a good, I feel like, lesson that I see traveling all around the world doing these competitions, is that, you know, those people that do those giant competitions, they are the best at it, and they're great at it, and it's like that's an important part. But then I see a bunch of other smaller events or smaller, you know, like tours or whatever it might be, they're all trying to do the exact same thing, and I'm just thinking to myself, we don't need that. We don't need, you know, 100 different, you know, brands of people trying to do the same exact thing, or we don't need the local event that is modeling itself exactly off of a stage performance. Leave that to the people that do that really well, and that doesn't mean you can't do something well. That means that maybe you could aim for a different vibe, and I always encourage that for people doing events in, you know, my own country, because it's the same. That's what I said. It's not just a Nepal thing
Not
at
just
all.
a Nepal thing.
And I don't know that it is a Nepal thing, because I haven't seen, you know, proper events here and things like that. So, but this is just talking generally, that I think that's one of the elements that's as, you know, so breaking is going to the Olympics this year. It's going to be in Paris 2024. So as it's really on the biggest stage, you know, that it could possibly be at, and showcasing that stage type battle, you know, way of carrying it out, I think it's even more important then to be like, hey, let's bring into the yang to that yin to make sure that we balance things out and say like, who's doing the dopest cultural event? Whose event has the best vibe? Personally, again, having done all those big events, I'm not looking for where's the biggest audience. I'm looking for where's the best vibe. If it's 12 people, if it's 200 people, if you can make a vibe with 1,000 people, awesome. But that is the thing that I'm looking for, and I think that again, in striving sometimes for we want to make the most perfect display of this, you can lose what drew us to it in the first place. And I think that that's something that I personally going to the events that Mazi was talking about when we started out and when we continue to do them is you create a jam. So a jam is it's a party. Really, it all stems from a party. Yeah. And then now we're introducing these more formalized, like, okay, we're gonna have a competition, and okay, we're straying from what an actual party feels like a little bit. But the idea is, it's okay to make some of those compromises, but then fundamentally to still have in mind, like I have in mind as a DJ, how can I make this whole room feel good? How can I make the vibe in here good? Not just like, let's only do battles. In between battles, no music. We're only concentrating on this competition, and that's the only thing. No. To me, that's not interesting at all. Yeah. The vibe of a whole community, a jam, that's interesting to me. And that can include the competition, but I think that's a really important element and something that doesn't maybe get talked about enough, especially in the midst of, like I said, these battles, these stage-type battles on the biggest possible stages, like BC1, funded by a giant company, or the Olympics.
No, this is a fantastic. No, this conversation is a fantastic, great learning experience for me as well, because, obviously, there's so many different things happening here, so many different things happening in Nepal. I'll just give a gist of a new upcoming thing that's happening here is the comedy scene.
Yeah.
It's just growing here. It's just started to grow. And recently, I wanted to go to Austin at a comedy club that I really like, but I couldn't make it. But just to learn,
I know some comedy stuff, so that's why I was like, okay,
just to learn from it. So this is such a fantastic experience, even for me and to all my audience, that just this conversation is such a good learning curve as well. And probably we could, I don't know, my network would definitely go ahead and help out the hip-hop on in the coming months. In the coming months to definitely go ahead and maybe we could plan a jam.
Yeah, because I would like to add on top of that, Sanjay, it's easy to plan a jam, but at the end of the day, you have certain expenses that you need to bear, and then here the sponsors say it's pretty hard. If Sanjay he could come in and influence people or the companies that he works with, it would be really good for the community, for the youths here. So I think Sanjay would be a good influential person who could
So you're not alone. I can't count the amount of jams, no matter where it is, the amount of events that are like, we have this event, idea, but we're still waiting on some sponsorship, which never comes. So I think across the board, maybe for some people, especially at higher levels, it gets easier, and maybe mid levels. But just so you know that's a shared, grievance across a lot of communities, that it's just difficult sometimes to get the realistic money that is, to foundation for throwing an event in the first place.
Yes, and then. We do have local jams, and then we conduct international events and jams once a year. But it's a lot of hard work, and then they're running after the.
What's that jam called?
So it's not exactly a jam called. So I talked to you about a b-boy city for where Taiwan Bojin.
Yeah.
So we do one of those events every year, so that winner can go and represent Nepal in Taiwan.
When does that usually happen? Around what time of year?
So this year, maybe the crew from Taiwan, Bojin's crew, they're gonna come here. So in last 2017, so these guys were here, almost 40 performers, dancers, graffiti artists. They came in here. So we reached out to all the underprivileged schools, marginalized community. We did workshops, and then after that, the final event, we did the Kathmandu b-boy city. So
Yeah, I'm just asking about specifics, just for anyone tuning in about around what month, or also like if it's on the Nepal Hip-Hop Foundation website, when that comes up, is that usually posted up there?
Yes, so we normally post it up in our social media sites. So so maybe this year, towards the end of the year, we might be planning.
How has the response been in the earlier years?
The response is good. Like we almost had the last B-Boy City that we did. We almost had 85 as per the count. 85 B-Boys who joined in, and then there was 100 plus all style dancers who also came in to participate in that event.
Wow. Nice.
So
Mazi, you were adding.
Yeah, I just want to push back. Just not push back. I want to give a little context for us, which is that even now, we're a large organization in America, but when we host a jam, the money for people to come in is the prize money for all the dancers.
Yes.
So thinking about yes, to put something up on a big stage and to get all the cameras and all the lights, yes, sponsors. But to Fleg's point around the value of the community for the dance, you're talking about comedy. One of the things that's been big in America for the last 20 years is open mics, where people pay money to come and get access to the mic. All you have to do, if you're in a position to not need the money from the door, that's the prize. So however many people show up, you all are dancing to compete for this, but you're not coming to the You're not coming for the competition. You're coming for the community because you want to be around these other dancers. You want that vibe, and you're willing to pay to be in it, and okay with some people being able to win a prize as a part of it.
We're just. I kind of have a feeling that we're just starting off in so many different aspects of the music as well as the dance as well here. How far have we reached? Just giving, just sharing with my audience as well.
So as per how many people. So basically, hip hop is spread all over Nepal. Anywhere you go, you will find communities there. So this time it was Biratnagar. So we are planning another tour, maybe, reach out to 7-8 places again. So if that works out. So in total, there is 5,000 plus youths involved in the community, in the hip hop community, all over Nepal. Yeah.
A few misconceptions that I was kind of getting into earlier as well. If there's any misconceptions, Dipesh, if you want to go ahead and start off, how we take it here. And again, earlier you talked about a few different things as well.
Yes.
If you can just jump into that.
Again, I wouldn't say misconception, but the first and the foremost thing is the permission from the home, where their parents basically, it's a totally different culture that we've been following. So there's one b-boy. And then, for example, right? So he wants to continue the career in breaking. So, but at the end of the day, when it comes to parents, studies is the number one priority, and then after that, you have to bring in something for the home. So, it's pretty hard, and then if they don't work or, if they don't have a job, so it's kind of pretty hard for them to continue their career. And then at the end of the day, most of the youths, they end up, it's sad to say, but they end up flying abroad to work. Yeah.
So the thing here is what has recently happened. Just of what has recently happened in the past decade is a lot of young kids do not see a future. Do not see a future in the country, and they want to go ahead and they see themselves abroad, any of the Western nations or developed nations. And one of the ways of expressing themselves is through music, to dance. And that's something that Hip-Hop Foundation, as well as other foundations, have been advocating about. And that's something that we believe in as well. Especially just if we could just, especially if there's a young girl who's listening right now, if there's somebody who is listening out there who wants to go ahead, anything that you'd want to go ahead and say to them when it comes to expressing themselves?
Say the thing that you want to say. Listen to yourself or what matters the most.
Yeah.
Follow your drive. Keep pushing during the moments that that you don't feel like pushing anymore. Use whatever art, whether it be your dance, whether it be visual, in whatever capacity, whatever your art is, maybe you just as a creative mind, whatever that is, to do it full and to the extent that brings your most unique and just be on it and represent it with the things that you want to say during the times that it is, or versus, both. It's something to represent the times and also to show that you're like, hey, I'm here and I see what's going on around me. As well as this is something, me personally, that I want to say, and this is how I'm going to say it. However it is, the times where I didn't want to move, I found I had to find a way, in the most painful place, I'm a mother. So as we were going to the event, I asked individuals from the embassy, was like, okay, what's going on in Nepal? What are some of the women, the struggles that is coming from, the women base? And I learned of like suicide, wives. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do something for them. I suffer loss, and these are women that are suffering because they felt like they had no other way. So and I learned about, the earthquake in November last year, those who lost their lives there. I was like, okay, well, this is going to be for them. And I'm going to encompass that spirit. And I'm going to do something that means something. And then you are going to feel it.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel the importance of being an opportunity, like a vessel, to give other people a space to use their voice and to show what expression can be. I'm not a battle person. I never have been, right? But I am an expressive artist in general, and I use dance as a tool to do that. And so those who were there at the mall, they saw how I roll in regards of that arena, and I utilize, street movement to do that. So there's if whatever you want to do, you find a way that it's your voice, and you do that path. Whether you're juggling a few things, whether this is the thing that keeps you moving, taking your steps, maybe it keeps you alive.
Yeah, keeps you going.
Maybe. Yeah.
Tomorrow is going to be a beautiful day. I already know that, because there's so many people coming together, so many different friends coming together, and I'm also eager to go out and meet some of my friends that I haven't seen for a while, because that's one of the things with events. I have a feeling that even you get to go out and meet all the old friends that you haven't met. So tomorrow I'm really excited for that as well, and that's going to be super awesome. Just to add on to this. When you were in Biratnagar on stage and you met all these young friends, right? How did it make you feel?
Oh, it's like light. Light, sun, shine. Just everybody's energy together, because every individual has energy. And when they're all vibrant, all together in one space, it's like, whoa. And that's the pot of light that I was sitting in. That's how I felt. I was sitting within everybody's energy together, symbiotic.
That's awesome. I'll come to you. We have a nightclub which is completely for hip hop. I don't know if you guys know this or not. So it's called Sugar. And then, so a couple of years ago, we didn't have it. We just had nightclubs, and we just had clubs. Yeah. But then there are a few people who are like, all right, we're going to specify just on hip-hop music. And then there's a nightclub called Sugar. I don't know if you've...
we are having the thing, Disruption today out there.
Oh,
right?
you guys are going there too?
Yeah.
So we've come so far. That's what I'm trying to say. We've come so far that we have a nightclub dedicated just for hip hop music. And what time are you guys going there today?
It starts 5, I think, 5 to 8. Yeah.
Today itself.
Yeah, I think Sanjay.
No, I'd love to come.
Yeah.
And again, this has been such a fantastic learning curve for me as well. So we have a dedicated nightclub, a club, not just a nightclub, but a club in general, just for hip hop music. So we've come that far. And today, I believe their friends will be definitely be coming as well. Yeah. Any tips and pointers that you'd like to go ahead and share to people who might not be able to go ahead and make it to that through the show?
So firstly. Yeah.
Go for it.
It's a closed event. Like all the invitees are invited, but of course there's going to be like artists and performers who's going to be.
Who are going to be there? No, just through this. Okay. I'm just talking about through this. Anything you'd like to go ahead and say to somebody who's aspiring, who wants to go ahead and maybe, who's listening, who's 18-year-old, who wants to go ahead and probably be a DJ down the road, who would probably want to go ahead and play with music, want to create, anything you'd like to go ahead and add to them?
Sure, yeah, so they want to, you're saying people that want to start just learning some of these, in general. Yeah. Well, there's a cool foundation called the Nepal Hip-Hop Foundation. and you notice I'm very deliberately, but, I think for good reason, like you have these organizations that are doing great work on the ground that are already set up for exactly this, and it's just like, look through their website, look at what they're doing as far as, workshops or, other types of classes that are being offered. Yeah. It's kind of a three-pronged thing because there's that, which we are now lucky enough to have that, or Words Beats in Life in a lot of, in certain cities, I don't want to say all cities, but in certain cities you have those, that's an immediate resource. But I think the way that a lot of us also came up, Stan could probably, I'm sure back me up on this, is just that we did have, a bit of, it's a combination of things, either a community effort or an apprenticeship or some sort of combination of those things, but it was very informal, which is cool. So, basically, you might have a friend of a friend, let's say you're interested in it, and some of it is that tenacity to go out and find the people that do this. That's what, in the dominance of the internet era, we had to go find those people that were doing these things. As he said, both of us are from Maryland, and in Maryland, that scene isn't known to the degree, or as connected as it was even before the internet in, let's say, in New York. So we had to find the people that were movers and shakers or that were good at their craft and be like, hey, can you teach me something? Hey, what are the events going on? And I think that sort of curiosity in general will take you a really, really long way. So like I said, existing organizations doing the work, but then also, just informally, reaching out to your network. And if you don't have it, again, you might immediately just want to go to the foundation and go to an event. But it's like the cool thing is as soon as you go to, let's say, one event that is within, these sorts of things we're doing, these elements of hip hop, you make a friend, let's say, well, I guess what I'll say is make it your purpose to go and make some friends there. And then, boom, like you're connected on social media. You get to see what they're doing. You get to talk and ask questions about it. You get to go to more events. It really snowballs pretty quickly after you start making those very personal connections with people. Stan, I don't know if you want to add to that a little.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, one of the things, I forget the woman's name who first shared the quote, but I think for me, like it was, it says basically, the person that you needed as that you needed as a child. I think a lot of us were working toward becoming that, and so early on, there wasn't like this type of organization like the Nepali, Hip-Hop Foundation or Words Beats in Life when we were children. And so I think for anyone who's watching this, who's in a place where maybe you don't have access to those resources, the hard thing that I'm gonna have to say is you're waiting for someone to come around to give you an opportunity that you're likely gonna have to create for yourself. And so to those people, I say, don't wait around for someone to be your voice, right? Don't wait around for someone to say something you can relate to and motivate you. If there are some strong beliefs and that you have, and you feel like people are not addressing them, and I'm not just talking about hip hop, right? Because hip hop exists because there were certain issues, both in politics, right, in community, that were not being addressed. and people were motivated to do something about it, right? Find some way to come together. So it wasn't just all fun and games a lot of times.
Yeah.
And so to those people, I say again, don't wait around for permission. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for an opportunity. At some point, you're going to have to realize that you're going to have to do most of this work. Even if you find an organization as great as theirs, you're going to have to do most of this work yourself, and that's okay. It's scary. It's super scary sometimes, but that's okay because you're going to be that person that you needed, that you maybe didn't have access to. So and that's all right. I was telling Mazi a couple days ago in Balananda that, I've been a reluctant leader most of my life. I didn't want to be in most of the positions that I ended up having thrusted on me. And it's mostly because people saw things in me that I didn't necessarily see in myself. Yeah. I was looking for other people. But when I realized a lot of times these people weren't coming, I just had to do what I had to do, and that's a large part of like my journey and why I'm here. So again, reach out to those resources that exist, but at the same time, if you don't have access, don't stop. Listen, greatness to a degree, greatness is a choice, right? Like I would say to my old students all the time, it was like, why wouldn't you want to be great, right? Why wouldn't you want to be great? And greatness doesn't look necessarily how we always think it looks. To some people, like some people know I rap, and I don't have the biggest following of every rapper. I'm not competing with most of these mainstream artists, but that has nothing to do with how great I am. Greatness a lot of times has to do with impact. The impact you have on the people that you can actually touch, right? And so what type of impact do you want to have on your own life, and then the people who you touch day to day? Those are choices that you can actually make right now, if you find it within yourself to believe in yourself first and foremost. Not to make it about religion, but I tell people, it's like, it saddens me sometimes that we find it easier to believe in God than we do ourselves. But when you learn to put some of that belief in you and invest in yourself in that same way, and understand that, regardless of your belief, you're a product of the Most High, right? You're a child of God. So it's almost like believing in yourself is almost like not believing in yourself is almost like not believing in God, right? So believe in yourself, motivate yourself, and watch how many people you impact and inspire, regardless to how big or like how micro or macro your impact, how far it goes out. But I mean, and the last thing I'll just add, there's an event happening on Monday at 4 Stories. That's a tribute to Nujabes, who's a producer from Japan who passed away many years ago. He helped me get my start. When he was doing what he was doing, I don't think he realized how big of an impact he would have. But here I am in a city that I didn't necessarily know I'd be in one day, but I'm here, and I get to see what my friends' impact and the part that I played in that legacy. I get to see that happening right here in a place I never imagined I would be, because he didn't wait for the opportunity to come to him. He just did what he had to do, and he created a lane for himself. And then by doing that, he created an opportunity for a guy all the way in Maryland, with me being the first assigned to him. So that's a great example of like someone not waiting around for something to happen. They just figured out how they could do it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Earlier, as Stephen was saying and Shanna was saying as well, that expressing yourself, right? That is something that I've been kind of advocating for, even starting with this podcast, that you can just turn on a microphone, open a camera, and just share yourself. And that's something that we've been constantly talking about right here. Obviously, a good learning curve for me as well. Anything you'd want to go ahead and say to friends who are watching within Nepal and probably around the world as well when it comes to expressing yourself? Mazi, why don't you share along this line?
Sure. So I really appreciate all the things that have been said by everyone around this table up to this point. I think it's really important for would-be artists, would-be creatives, to recognize a couple things. One, that they are not alone, and that the sooner they find community, that parent that is discouraging them from pursuing the arts gets replaced by friends who say, "You're a really great dancer." Like a mutual friend that Fleg and I have was a world-renowned b-boy.
Yeah.
And his parents did not know that he was a dancer. He's in America. So this is not a Nepali problem. It is a problem of creatives who have parents who are concerned that creativity will not pay their bills and provide for them.
Exactly.
But the truth is that every person who is an artist doesn't have to do it professionally.
That's true.
The idea that DJing or the love of music or curating music or the idea of writing rhymes and performing is something that you value, that value doesn't increase or decrease with a check. It in a lot of instances, it increases or decreases with the support of people that love you and appreciate what it is that you're contributing to their lives in the moments that you share.
Yeah.
And so thinking about self-expression, I think I would encourage people to understand you are not alone in any thoughts you have, any feeling that you have, but once you express it, people can say, I felt that same way.
Yeah.
I went through that same thing. I have that same concern. But if you never share it, you never know that there are more people like you around you than you knew. And so you are not alone. And the easiest way to discover who else feels the way you do is to share how it is you feel, to share what it is that you imagine, the aspirations that you have, and be willing to dream a bigger dream for yourself. I know amazing artists who are also scientists. Like I have a friend, his name is DJ Scientific. He's a rocket scientist. That's what he does during the day. And at night, he goes out and DJs at clubs. So this idea that parents say, get your education, doesn't mean you can't still develop your creative expression and add that to your life and not necessarily make it your whole life.
Yeah, no, that's beautifully put.
I have to state real quick, him being a scientist, it just reminds me of like the Freestyle Union that was started in DC by Tony Blackman, and you had Storm the Unpredictable, who was the science teacher, and the rap battles back then were all about knowledge and like flipping word skills. Is all wordsmith. And it was never about putting down. Of course, those things would happen. You're just getting at each other. Like that's the comedic form. But it was more of a comedic aspect of like the battle game. Right? But it was about your skill set and how much you knew and your wit.
Yeah. One of the best rapper I know in Nepal is an engineer. So during the day, he works in construction sites, and then during the evenings,
he engineers words.
Yeah, it's awesome to go ahead and see that. So it's all coming together, and again, I kind of feel we're still in the infant stages of hip-hop music and when it comes to performance arts. So we'll definitely, obviously, right, within my network, I'll definitely be there to support as much as I can in the coming years. I want to do a jam. I don't know how we can make that possible.
Do that.
That's really awesome.
You got a great, platform for promo right here.
Of course. And then we can work it out as a yearly event, like
get you guys back.
Like Fleg said, like it doesn't have to be a company that overshadows the event. Like we can just create our own event, and then what they said, the vibe is important. So,
and as I mentioned before too, that connection of individuals to other individuals for so many different purposes. But even one, as I'm here asking you about, like, when does it usually happen? Because there are times when it's just like, that's also probably when Battle of the Year Japan is happening. If it happens at the end of the year in December, so it's like if I'm there for that, like that makes it a lot easier for me to say, hey, I want to support y'all. Let me come over. Sanjay's y'all are doing this. Okay, let's go.
Yeah. And personally, for me as well, we have a lot of concerts in Nepal, and it's mostly right now with all the concerts that's happening. It's mostly when it comes to big names, not hip hop names yet, right? Like I'm talking about like I don't know. I don't want to take names of artists, but so down the road we could plan that as well.
Of course.
And then we'd love your support. We'd love your support when it comes to connections as well, and probably we can do more as well.
Yes,
That'd be awesome.
maybe, you know.
Put up a poster of tomorrow if you guys have it up on the screen. I just want to show it to everybody just to raise the awareness as well, and the positive awareness that we raised with our conversation today. Thank you so much for that, guys. No,
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
so much. Thank you so much. Anything? Let's get started from you. Anything you want to go?
I actually realized that I wanted to add one quick pragmatic thing to your question that you had before,
Yes.
and it also connects to a point that I had that, and I really think this, can't be stated enough for absolutely everyone in this era. It's like of so much information, but then because of the ocean of information, it's hard to find the path to, get to where you need to go to. But curiosity will be rewarded. Curiosity is a really good trait to have. Curiosity and tenacity in going towards something. So to your earlier question about, how can someone get started?
Yeah.
I think with almost anything that we're doing up here, whether it's rapping or it's dancing or it's DJing, obviously connecting with people directly through Foundation, like I said, person to person is super important. But in the absence of the ability to do that in the immediate, YouTube, my goodness, YouTube tutorials. So if you say YouTube, I don't even know what the search would be, as far as what it would get you, but I guarantee if you put DJ tutorial YouTube, like into YouTube, you're going to get about 1,000 of them. And that's okay. And you have to sift through a few. But the point is, like, there are so many resources out there for free that exist just, online. And it's like I said, I think it's best that you start, that people try to connect with the community.
Yeah.
But like I said, as a very, very start, just to be like, well, how is this done? It's like, oh, what does this look like? How might, one, do this dance move? That's your best friend.
Yeah.
No shadow of a doubt. And I learned how to DJ through YouTube, by the way, just giving you a heads up on that.
Without even knowing it. Without even knowing. The point has been proven.
Right.
It is 1,000% proven right here.
It's back in the day, and then I was lucky that I learned just a bit to dance from my dance teacher back in the day. I learned breakdancing but early on when I was super young, so I'll show you some moves. You can teach me some as well. And obviously just to throw it in, I learned emceeing just by looking at other friends how they went there and did it. So it's just about internet and then teachers and then just observing. And I'll take your quote on this. I'm not the I try to go ahead and be the brown of all.
I respect that. Yeah.
So it's happening tomorrow, and this podcast is going to come out tonight. It's happening tomorrow at Annapurna Dharamag. Anything you'd like to go ahead and when you said anything you'd like to go ahead and add when it comes to the foundation before we end?
We are basically coordinating the event. So all of the community people are going to be there. And then for bring in your brothers, sisters, your family, because it's a family event. There's going to be performances. There's going to be stalls where you can move around and see, So we're putting up like hip hop stalls.
Awesome.
So everyone is invited, and then
Is it free?
It is free. Yeah, by the way, and then you have an awesome American Arts Envoy team here. That's going to be awesome. So Viratnagar was awesome, and I'm sure like Kathmandu is going to be like.
We're
great.
starting off at 12 p.m. if I'm not mistaken, right?
12 p.m.
Oh, awesome, perfect. Shanna, anything you want to go ahead and add to all the friends who are listening right now?
I'll see you tomorrow.
Awesome. Special, anything you'd like to go ahead and say to friends?
Just first and foremost, thank you for the opportunity. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Keep doing the amazing work that you're doing, and giving voice to your community and opportunities as well. So no, seriously, thank you for having us. And lastly, just to kind of piggyback what he was saying. It's a quote that I use all the time. One of the few cool quotes that I came up with, and it's simply, you're as smart as the question you think to ask and the research you're willing to do. So, to everybody who are looking to find ways to better themselves, not just as artists but as people, as humans on this planet, keep doing the work, keep doing the research, and spread love, spread peace, spread opportunities.
Perfect.
Oh, actually, I do have one thing to say.
Yes, please.
Your voice matters.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yes. So basically,
Beautiful.
Kulo Bolo, like the tagline of the
Kulon Bolon.
Bolon. So
Right.
open up and speak up. I think.
Exactly. Mazi?
Yeah, I was just going to say, give yourself permission to dream, to allow yourself to live in your imagination, and to be present in your body. Like a lot of times people watch artists. None of what they're doing is just to be watched. It's to be felt, and to some degree to participate. Whether that's just nodding your head, or moving your shoulders, or waving your hands. Come to participate, not just to witness.
So tomorrow, everybody, make sure that you guys come to Kulon Bolo. Kulon Bolo.
Kulon Bolo.
Kulon Bolo. You guys want to give it a shot? Kulon Bolo.
Kulon.
Yeah, there you go.
Awesome. Dude, awesome. Thank you so much for coming, guys. Thank you so much for it.
Thank you, Sanjay.
Thank you.